Here. Let us figure out a way to decipher some of the flotsam from the jetsam, if you will. Welcome back to veteran columnist, economist, and business professor Peter Morici, and joined anew by the chairman of Insider Advantage, also a nationally syndicated columnist, political analyst, and pollster, Matt Towery. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Matt is the new guy on the block right here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and begin with you. Let's talk about polls here for a minute, and let us talk about Marco Rubio, whom we heard from just a few moments ago. The word that I have heard over and over again, read over and over again tonight is, talking about Marco Rubio, is, sad to say, delusional. When he talks about we are going to go to Florida, we are going to win. Look, isn't it fair to say, honestly, Matt, it's time to go. He cannot win. He cannot move the needle forward. He is not only damaging maybe the Republican Party at this point, but he's damaging his political future. Yes?
Well, of course, I'm in Florida right now, my home in St. Petersburg, and I'm polling for the Fox affiliates here. I won't reveal those numbers yet because we're going to come out on Thursday with those numbers, but we're doing some early polling. I would agree, yes, absolutely. The problem that we have, and I'm just going to state it straight up, what no one wants to face right now is that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee of the Republican Party if he wins the Florida primary. It is that simple. Because the primaries that follow, Arizona, New York, that are several of which are winner take all or they're hybrid, are going to go for Trump. And so this is no longer, I've seen all of these analysts get on and play all these games, silly numbers and whatever. It is down, as they say in the South, to the lick log. Florida or bust. So Rubio stays in the race. Even if he gets out right now, Ed, we're going to have almost 40% of the vote cast in Florida.
Battle in the West.
Well, let me get this. Hang on one sec, Peter. I'm going to get to you in a moment here. But Matt, let me just point this out that came out today in ABC News. And I know you're talking about all the people that we hear over and over again, because you're right. There's going to be a contested. There'll be a brokered convention. We'll do this. We'll do that. We'll hide some money under the chair somewhere. We'll pull somebody in. We'll actually grab a dead body out of Chicago. Whatever you want to say, we'll do whatever it takes to get this done. But here's an ABC News Washington Post poll that says head-to-head, Ted Cruz beats Donald Trump 54 to 41%. Marco Rubio beats him 51 to 45%. Are we not talking about, quite frankly, here just exercises in futility? Because even if Marco Rubio drops out right now, it is really not logical to think those numbers will change that drastically and that immediately. Yes?
No, they won't change that drastically. And more importantly, the next primaries that you have, big ones, Arizona, New York, et cetera, they're going to go Trump. It doesn't matter if you have Cruz in there. Cruz is not going to win New York, and he's not going to win Arizona. Trump's going to win those. It's delusional. I mean, look, nobody likes a lot of the crudities of Trump. Nobody likes the way he brings out the stakes, but he has a rhyme to his reason. And I'm not for anybody. I just poll. But I've reached the point at which I've watched all this crazy talk from everyone. And the fact is, if you sit in this state right now and you know what's going on, you realize that unless Rubio drops out tomorrow, or unless there's just a bombshell in that debate on Thursday, and that's the one caveat, this sucker is sewn up.
All right, Peter, now let's talk about bombshells, and also let's talk about rhyme to that reason. Two-part question to you then, Peter. What is the rhyme to that reason then for Donald Trump, why he continues to succeed regardless of anything that's said about him? And what about those who, for instance, such as Mitt Romney and others, who allude to bombshells in taxes? And we hear about bombshells in the courts somewhere, and everybody keeps hinting. But, Peter, quite frankly, we haven't seen any evidence of anything yet.
Well, the bottom line is that Donald Trump has a very good political ear. He's not just appealing to white, disenfranchised voters, people who are not doing well economically. Let's face it, he won in Massachusetts, for Pete's sakes. And he's winning in a lot of places because he is voicing some of the frustrations that many of the rank-and-file Republicans have with their leadership. Over the last 20 years, the Bush family's gotten rich, the Romney's family's gotten rich, and the ordinary voting Republican has gotten poorer. Whether they're evangelicals or northern atheists, they're not doing well. They have a party that prescribes for them a set of policies that simply don't work for them. Whether it's immigration and Jeb Bush's view of that, or it's free trade or what have you, Donald Trump may be crude, but he's voicing their frustrations on a number of issues. The other thing, frankly, is Mitt Romney was a hypocrite in his critique of Donald Trump. Trump and Romney have the same trade policy. If you compare platforms, a big tariff on China. Trump and Romney had the same platform on immigration. Romney wanted to put them all on trucks and send them home. Remember? That's why he lost the election. My feeling is that they are hearing in Trump a way to express their frustration, and they're going to overlook the foul language. They're going to overlook his divorces and a lot of things because, frankly, everybody else to them looks like Jeb Bush, and that ain't much.
Then are they also going to overlook, and I stay with you, Peter, on this, Matt, I'll come to you in a moment on this, but Peter, will they also continue to overlook, maybe at their own peril, some would say, the fact that a lot of Donald Trump's companies have failed? He is not the businessman that he says he is, according to numerous reports. People who say that he has not built many buildings at all, despite him saying that he has built a lot of buildings in New York. People who will say that he outsources a lot of his businesses and a lot of his goods to Chinese companies when he says he wants to make America great again. They continue to bring up these little tiny things, and after a while, they start to make people wonder. And I got to be honest, too, Peter, I've talked to some people who are big Donald Trump fans, and even they've said, maybe we need to look again. But that's not what the majority of the people say. So should we basically, Peter, just stop looking at all this and say whatever you want, it's done, it's over. He's a flawed human being, and people just want him because he gets things done. Maybe that's just it.
Well, they want somebody to get things done for them as opposed to wealthy Republicans, the guys that went to Yale. And that's what Donald Trump represents. You know, General Motors and Ford are doing a lot of outsourcing these days because the economic system that's been put in place by George W. Bush and Barack Obama makes it impossible not to succeed in business without outsourcing. He wants to change those arrangements so it is possible to succeed in business by insourcing. He wants to change the rules of the game. You can't fault a man for operating in the conditions and with the tools that the system gives him. And the other thing is, I don't buy that he's a failure because some of his businesses have failed. His father certainly gave him a few $1 million to start, and we shouldn't, snicker at that. But he's got $600 million in ready cash. You know, a real estate guy that's a fraud has $1 billion in assets, but $1.1 billion in debt, and so he can't raise a nickel to do anything for himself. Somebody who started out with a couple of $1 million 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and has $600 million today is a success by any economic yardstick. The sum total is Donald Trump is a success. And he's a success in a way that Mitt Romney and the Bush family are not. Mitt Romney made his money by wheeling and dealing, piling debt on companies, and selling them on unwitting buyers. The Bush family did it by basically selling the influence of the White House and the prospect that they could be there again, much as the Clintons has done. You know, we are past the era when one can be a Henry Ford and build a factory and put America on wheels. But we're not past the era where you can build golf courses and hotels and casinos and so forth and create places for people to go and make money. And Donald Trump has done that. Name for me a candidate that is running for president that has been more successful at business than Donald Trump. I don't think you can. So that's why it doesn't stick. The other thing you have to remember is look what the other side is running. An habitual liar. I mean, come on.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing that comes out of Hillary Clinton's mouth that's true.
Every
the war
word.
on women, the bias against women. Heck, young women make more money than young men. Universities graduate 60% of their degrees go to women. On trade, I mean, the Clintons are against free trade when they're running for office and for free trade when they're in. Over and over again on issue after issue. It wasn't my responsibility at Benghazi. Heck, if a CEO of a company presided over a situation where a big chemical plant blew up and he says, well, you know, that really wasn't my responsibility. It was the plant manager. You can't lay that one on me. She'd be going ballistic. Bernie Sanders would be stewing him. But Hillary, oh, that was beneath my pay grade. I mean, let's face it. Hillary is successful right now for two reasons. Minorities that are accustomed to government sinecure jobs and a string of government welfare benefits know she will continue to deliver those. And there's a lot of women over 50 who honestly believe that every day guys like you and me assemble in bars and conspire ways to keep women down. It might not be true, but she's able to sell it. It's a very sorry state. So compared to Hillary, Donald looks like, St. Francis of Assisi.
Peter Morici, by the way, is now available for your write-in vote if you'd like, because quite frankly, I don't think anybody's put it in such a succinct manner and put it so well. All right, Matt, let me come to you on something else here, and I'm going to get back to some of the discussion that I've had with friends of mine who want to vote for Donald Trump and say that they will, and others as well. And I've had some friends tell me, I'm questioning. But here's something that I hear, and these are very well-educated people. They said, I'm ready to vote for Donald Trump. Why doesn't he just tell me the truth? I said, explain yourself. They said, why don't you just tell us? You failed at the casino in Atlantic City. Your airline, you sold it. You got rid of it. Your steaks stunk. They didn't sell. Nobody bought them. Your wine didn't work. Your water didn't work. We still like your message. Just give us the honesty. We'd like to hear that because, quite frankly, we're not getting that from anybody else in Washington. You tell it like it is, so just be honest with us. We'll still get on your side. Do you think that'd make it? Well, first of all, I don't think it's in Donald Trump's makeup, but might that not be a bad idea? I think he'd grab a lot more people out there if he was just completely and totally honest.
Well, I graduated from Cambridge University in England. I don't know if that qualifies me as well educated or not. But I can certainly say that from my standpoint, looking at the polling here in Florida and the numbers and internals I'm looking at, what your folks are talking about really is not relevant to this race. We're talking about masses of people. We're talking about a movement that obviously, none of us really saw this was going to be created, Ed. This is something that no one who looks at something from an intellectual standpoint at the beginning would really understand. None of us could. None of us who run campaigns, who have been involved in campaigns. This is a new paradigm, a new phenomenon. But right now, as we stand right now, and not to be trite, Trump is, of everything I've heard, and I certainly have heard the same things you're talking about, but they're in the commercials that are running here in Florida. And I can tell you right now, Trump's numbers are expanding in Florida, not going down. And on top of that, the Mitt Romney phone calls into Florida today, as best we can tell from anecdotal information we have tonight, hurt the cause of trying to stop Trump rather than helping it, as Peter alluded to. And by the way, Peter, I'd be happy to vote for you. You articulate things better than any candidate I've heard. But the fact is, I know those concerns these people are raising, but that's like dancing on the head of a pin right now. This is a tsunami going on.
Right. You're exactly right. But let's take this another step further here. Quite frankly, and this is what people are saying. They look at the poll numbers. They look at all the various polls that show that Donald Trump, and I think there's one that we found so far tonight, one that says that he would defeat Hillary Clinton in a one-on-one, straight-up matchup in the general election. There are people saying, look, we know Hillary Clinton's a liar. We know that Bernie Sanders is also a liar. We know this whole thing about white people can't be poor. That hurt him the other night as well. He said it. We all know it. And this is what I'm being told by people who write me on social media and personally. Donald Trump, just tell us the damn truth. That's all. We want to trust you. We want you to be past it. We want you to be better than everybody else. So I get it. Matt, I get it. The numbers are going up, and you're right. They'd go up even greater, perhaps, if he told the complete truth. Yes?
Ed, you're implying that he's not telling the truth.
He is not telling the truth in many ways, Peter.
If you start 500 businesses, 50 will fail, and people can point to the failures. But on net, he had to succeed more often than he failed to go from a couple of million on hand to 600 million. This isn't assets that he needs to sell and clear out mortgages on. This is money in the bank.
But we're not just talking about that, Peter.
Cash.
Peter, I'm going to argue with you here for a moment. No, I'm going to argue with you here.
Often, then you fail.
Because I hear what you're talking about, and you're right. When it comes down to the money and the economics, you are right. But there's people, quite frankly, who are disturbed by the little things that go through. When he says, I'm coming to Hawaii because all my employees work at the hotel there. That's not true. He doesn't own the hotel. When he comes up and says that Trump's steaks were a success, they didn't sell one, actually, according to the folks at Sharper Image. When he comes out and indicates that certain things, there's a lot of these little things here, Peter. That's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
What people are saying is, Donald Trump, you don't have to do this. You don't have to go this far. We want somebody like you there. We want somebody who will tell us the truth.
What you're seeing is the transition that a lot of governors have the trouble with. The problem with governors running for president is, as a governor, you basically administer federal programs. When you run for president, you have to be a bigger-than-life personality and have a big vision. okay? And that's what Jeb Bush couldn't do, because Jeb Bush has no vision. What Donald Trump is still doing is what a door-to-door salesman does. A door-to-door salesman sees somebody and he tells him a good story to sell him this can.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Peter. They call that person a
right
sucker.
Now. He can't break away from that mode of talking, and that is a character flaw in Donald Trump, and it is may be what makes Hillary Clinton president.
There we go.
About that.
That's it. You're right. It's a character flaw. You're right. And there are people out there whom I firmly believe, and Matt, I'm going to give you just 30 seconds here because we're running out of time to go ahead and quote on this, that there are people who say, you don't have to fib, Donald. You don't have to stretch the truth. We know what you can do for this country. Give us the reality, and you're going to get more votes.
Well, I think you're probably right about that. We all know there's a little stretching. Let me make one note, though. Tonight, we have another big thing emerging. Hillary Clinton cannot win states that have a significant white population. That is going to become a major issue over the next few weeks. And I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump is not going to be the story down the road. It's going to be Hillary Clinton.
I tend to think that's proper. Mr. Morici, we got to say goodbye to you for the night. We want to thank you for being here because, Peter, as I said, you probably got a lot of write-in votes by the time everything is done. Don't forget, check Peter's columns at Newsmax.com, and he's part of the Hard Line with yours truly weekday evenings at 6 and 10 Eastern right here on Newsmax. Matt Towery's going to stay in the chair. He will join us on the other side of the break. Gentlemen, hang tight. We want to bring you up to speed real quick. Here we go. 92% of the precincts reporting on the Democratic side of things. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton? Well, we'll give you the numbers after the break. In television, we call that the tease. But quite frankly, there are some people I think who are going to have to eat their words about what's happening in Michigan with regard to Bernie and Hillary. America Votes 2016 continues.